Hapa ni kulokalite ya Iamba Makobola. Njo hapa hivi tuko na komanda politike na kijana hapa.
Komanda brigade Nyenyezi Emmanuel.
Sisi hapa.
Komanda brigade Nyenyezi Emmanuel.
Sisi hapa wote. Makobola. Tumeshambulia kwa sasa tuko Makobola.
Well, conflicting statements have been released by the M23 and the FARDC regarding what happened in Makobola in the past 24 hours. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the statements that have been released by the M23 and the FARDC and the truth of what exactly transpired in Makobola that has led the M23 to withdraw from Makobola and the FARDC right now to govern this small town south of Uvira. Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that when I release something new on Eastern DRC, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, it was unprecedented that the M23 released a statement noting that it has withdrawn further from the town of Uvira. Now, this came after the pressure from the United States, but right now, the M23 released a statement just a few hours ago, noting that it withdrew also from the position that it had taken in Makobola. Well, that has been disputed by the FARDC, which now says that withdrawal of the M23 did not come out of its own will, but the M23 was defeated by a coalition of the Wazalendo and the FARDC, who are still fighting against the M23 south of Uvira. The statement by the FARDC points out the fact that the M23 did not voluntarily withdraw from Makobola, that it was forced to withdraw from Makobola by the fighting that ensued in that particular place where the Wazalendo defeated the M23 in that town. That statement by the FARDC reads that the fighting, particularly intense at Makobola 1 and 2, inflicted heavy human and material losses on the M23 forces, culminating on Wednesday, December 24th, in a debacle that forced the attackers to retreat. The M23 columns coming from Bangwe were successfully repelled towards Luanga Hill before fleeing in the direction of Kigongo, a strategic height overlooking the first village south of Uvira. The M23 attempt to outflank through the village of Kabembwe, aimed at cutting the strategic link from Boko, was also repelled before the rebels were definitively dislodged from Makobola after heavy losses. Well, that statement released by the FARDC notes that the M23 tried to fight against the FARDC and the Wazalendo, but they were defeated at Makobola and they retreated. Remember, the M23 was pressured by the United States to withdraw from Uvira after they captured Uvira. This was after that talk between the DRC and Rwanda, where they signed that Washington Accord in Washington, overseen by the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Now, the US pressured Rwanda, and the M23 subsequently withdrew from the town of Uvira. But upon their withdrawal, the M23 went and positioned themselves strategically on the hills surrounding Uvira, overlooking Uvira, as well as positioned some of their people to oversee the day-to-day lives and activities of the people of Uvira. Now, this was not seen as a total withdrawal as per how it was requested by the United States. In fact, the United States released a statement noting that it is concerned about that withdrawal that was announced by the M23, that the M23 did not fully withdraw from Uvira, and that is still in violation of the Washington Accords. Now, the statement that was released by the FARDC also pointed to the realization that the M23 is still aiming to fight against the FARDC in that particular point of Makobola, because that statement went forward to read that on Thursday evening, the rebellion, which had set up its logistical base within the grounds of the former MONUSCO base at the city's northern gate on the Uvira-Bukavu road, is still organizing, according to witnesses, a launch of a new offensive south of the city of Uvira. That is according to witnesses who have noted the movements of vehicles in and out the base that the M23 had captured that was previously used by the UN MONUSCO in South Kivu. Well, this only means that the fighting in Eastern DRC is still on and is still continuing, despite all the efforts that have been taken by the United States, by Qatar, by the East African community and the SAMI DRC to make sure that there is a long-lasting peace in Eastern DRC. This is also coming at a time when we expect the M23 to reduce its activity in Eastern DRC as per the pressure that had come from the United States. But even though all this has been done, there is still conflict in Eastern DRC. The M23 is still heavily fighting against the FARDC, and the coalitions of both of these forces are still fighting in different fronts in Eastern DRC. Well, I'll continue to keep you updated and informed of the latest of what will come out from Eastern DRC. Right now, that the M23 is still continuing to fight against the FARDC despite the pressure from the United States. Keep it Bonafide. Well, if you value the Africa geopolitical analysis I do here on Bonafide, please consider supporting the channel. Producing independent and research-driven content takes time and resources, and YouTube revenue alone is not enough. Your support, whether by sharing, subscribing, or contributing, helps Bonafide remain consistent, independent, and analytical. Thank you for supporting independent African analysis.